Hi, I'm Dr. Rajani. Uh-oh, I can feel my PDO threads. Let's talk about that. Okay, so if you're an injector that injects PDO threads, or you're a patient that's had them, you might have heard that before or felt them, that when you have threads, particularly barbed threads, and it could be PDO, polydioxanone, PCL, polycaprolactone, or PLLA, poly-L-lactic acid, like sculptor type threads, you could feel them. What's that all about? Or a patient calls in, hey, I had the thread lift, or I had threads done, I can feel them in there. Is it dangerous? Is it a problem? If you like these videos, click like, subscribe, join our family here, click the button below, and click the bell, because if you click the bell, you'll be alerted and you'll be one of the first to watch the newest videos. We do a couple every week typically. This is a Raji's quick clip. And what we're talking about is, if they feel the thread, is it normal, and do we got to worry about it, and why? Well, PDO threads, they're smooth. Often people don't feel those. But the barbed ones are either barbed, they're just that, they have little hooks on them, or molded. And molds have a little notch kind of cut out. It's less likely that they feel those. It's more the barbed ones with the little spiky things on them. And they can be made kind of in a molded manner, but they're sharp. Or they take the thread and they kind of cut them in the manufacturing process, and you get these floppy little pieces, but they're a bit sharp because they're meant to grab. So that's the manufacturing of them, but when they're placed in, they're deeper typically than what we place smooths, but of course they're often in dynamic areas. So by that I mean the vector that we do along the lower face, along just above the jawline, so that it lifts kind of that oral commissure. It's a great area to put the thread, because then we're not bulking up or filling, which most people do, the oral commissure. The pre-gel you can fill, because a lot of times people lose bone, they need forward chin projection. But at the edge of the mouth, imagine adding filler, we become square and bulky, and not as much normal movement. Doesn't look good. But with the threads, you can actually reapproximate and move everything back to where we want it, which is more towards the ear. But because we're grabbing the tissue, and everyone wants those barbed threads because that's what gives you the most dramatic instant look, watch my other videos on thread problems, the #1 PDO thread problem. You can also watch molded threads being put in. I have videos on those, and smooth threads, of which we don't use enough of. Refer back to my other videos on the #1 thread lift problem. I have ones on PDO threads, the barbed threads being placed, narrowing or snatching the face with PDO threads. You can watch those, and how to fix PDO problems. But when someone calls in and they feel kind of a spiky thing, they'll say, just like it's a little nerve hit of pain when they smile or move, or they might be sitting there without much movement. They're fairly static and they feel it and they kind of twitch. And if the thread is placed in the right depth, always obviously ask your provider. They know where it was placed, what it was placed, the type of thread, and the area of nerves around where it might be. But it's really common to feel that thread for up to about 4 weeks with PDO. Why up to 4 weeks? Because that's when the thread has its most tensile strength, and those little spiky barbs are going to be stronger. And when they're strong, they tend to poke. And of course, the oral commissure, if you've put threads in, you know this is the area that's going to hurt the most. When you put the thread in, there's a lot of sensation. Same if you come with a superior into the actual upper lip. Sometimes the cannula goes right to the edge of the lip. The lip is very sensitive. There's a lot of nerves. Usually this goes away at 4 to 6 weeks. So yes, people can feel the threads. It usually resolves. Always ask your provider. The barbed threads, the molded threads, the lifting threads, those kinds of threads are more intense for the patient. They're more difficult to put in. Often they're 18 gauge, so they're fairly big, and they're placed with blunt cannulas. So while they're blunt, there's not as much trauma as, say, with a needle. It still is a procedure. There is some downtime. You can get bruising, but feeling them is certainly something people describe. So join me here, like the video, subscribe, become part of our family. Join me also on Instagram, and watch these videos to keep your skin and body beautiful, healthy, and vibrant.